this was kind of a dark week for humor and free speech, and make no mistake about it, our very way of life is threatened and under attack. But you know me, I'm a cockeyed optimist.
Yeah.
I want to look on the bright side, and actually, I feel like there was a bright side this week. I saw a reaction from non-Muslims and Muslims alike that I've never seen before when shit like this went down. Do you think we've reached a tipping point where people have just had enough of this shit?
Well, I hope so. I was going to say, you know, when you were talking about hacking, that today the hacking group Anonymous announced that what they were going to do was take down every jihadist website they could find.
Ah.
So this is hacking for peace.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so, you know, but I agree with you. I mean, I think, you know, Sheikh Nasrallah of Hezbollah
Yes.
said that these people had offended Islam much more than the cartoonists. 6 years ago, he said that if I had been killed, the Danish cartoonists wouldn't have done what they did. So he's maybe moderated his opinion. What do you think? Yeah, the Iranians. I mean, when you get the Iranians standing up against terrorism,
something's going on.
Something's going on.
Right.
Maybe they're cracking.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that's going on is literally everyone feels threatened. I mean, you've now had incident after incident after incident where terrorists walk into our daily lives. It's not a political struggle. It's not a wartime event. It's a kosher deli.
Right.
It's a coffee shop in Australia. It's a journalist's office.
We tend to forget how often it happens, and we're Americans, so we don't want to single out people. But when you look at that list, just since 9/11, then we had the Madrid bombings in 2004, London in 2005, Mumbai, the Kenyan Mall, Benghazi, which was one of 20 cities that erupted when that movie, Innocence of the Muslims, was on the internet. ISIS, Boko Haram, who killed an entire village this week. Pakistan this week, last year, killing all those kids at the school. Yeah. Canada, the parliament, Australia, that guy. And that's just the terrorists. Let's not forget also governments. That's the thing I think that gets lost. It's inside the establishment and it's outside. Saudi Arabia today.
Yeah,
a blogger gets 1,000 lashes for...
They flogged a blogger for saying something that a priest didn't like.
Right.
And let's not forget Syria slaughtering 300,000 of their own citizens.
Right, but I mean, like Turkey, the president of Turkey said, women are not equal to men. Yeah. Our religion has defined position for women, motherhood. Yeah. I can't imagine a Western government leader saying that. And, you know, what we've said all along is, and have been called bigots for it, is when there's this many bad apples, there's something wrong with the orchard.
Well, can I just, I think there, I mean, I said earlier this week that there'd been a kind of mutation, a kind of deadly mutation in the middle of Islam. And I want to just say something about that because I think this is not a random mutation. This is not what that well-known writer of fiction, Charles Darwin, said was the way in which things moved on.
Right.
You know? But this has been a mutation that a lot of work has been put into. A lot of, as you say, governments, from the Sunni side, the Saudi government, on the Shia side, the Iranian government, have been putting fortunes of money into making sure that extremist mullahs are preaching in mosques around the world and in building and developing schools in which a whole generation is being educated in extremism, and trying to prevent other forms of education. When those children were killed in Pakistan, what they were trying to stop was real education. The term Boko Haram, Boko means book, Haram means unclean. So they're trying to say that actual education is unclean. They're trying to and this is the point, is that although there have been this, I mean, you know, I want to express my grief for our fallen comrades, you know, I mean, I think these are people who died doing what we do, you know, being rude about people. I mean, you do it better than me. But in a way, we're the sideshow. This is a project to seize power in the Islamic world. And whether it's the Taliban or ISIS or Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab or any of these groups, what they're trying to do is to create a mindset which allows them to conquer the world of Islam. And we're the sideshow. I mean, I don't know, we don't like being the sideshow.
I think that's critical for Americans to realize that it's not about us.
No.
Okay, and I know we tend to always make it about us. It seems to me the real fight is not Islam versus the West. It's within Islam.
It's within
between
Islam.
Yes.
the terrorists and the tolerant. It's between Al-Qaeda and Malala.
Except here's the thing about
Yes,
that.
but it is Americans who are being beheaded by
Right.
ISIS right now.
And here's
So
the
it
thing
actually
about
is
that, about
us.
making that distinction, and there should be a distinction, because obviously the vast majority of Muslims would never do anything like this. But they share bad ideas. This is the thing that caused the big ruckus when Ben Affleck was here, was that Sam Harris said, Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas, and everyone went fucking nuts on this side of the panel. But it is. The guy who shot up these two guys who shot up the cartoonist the other day, they were revenging the prophet, they said, when they did. A bad idea.
Well, you know,
martyrdom, a bad idea.
The
Women are
subjugation of
second-class
women,
citizens.
a bad
idea. And unfortunately, the terrorists and the mainstream share a lot of these bad ideas.
But not entirely, because I mean,
Not
look,
entirely.
You don't. I mean, don't come to me for a defense of Islam. You know, I mean, that's like, as I once said to my mother, that's not my team.
And what did she say?
She said, "Why do you blame God for what these people do?" It's like a wonderful piece of infantilizing of the deity. You know, if God is not responsible for what people do in His name, what kind of, he's some kind of baby God. Anyway, but it's very important to note that what happened in France this week was an enormous. I mean, people are always saying Muslims have to stand up against terrorism. Well, this week they did. You know, and all over France, there were French people, Muslims, standing up and saying, "We are French. This is not our team, not in our name." You know.
Okay, but let me ask you the other question about Europe, because earlier in the week, before this even happened, there was a rally in Germany, and rally in Germany right away, kind of red flag. But it was against the Islamization of Europe. And that, I know people here right away, oh, that sounds racist. But, there was a piece 60 Minutes did you see that, in November, about London, where you've lived, where most of us have traveled. Okay, there is a preacher there who basically says he'd like to take over the town. He says, ultimately, I want to see every single woman in this country covered from head to toe. I want to see the hand of the thief cut. I want to see adulterers stoned to death. I want to see Sharia law in Europe.
But this is what Margaret Thatcher, that I'm a great admirer of hers, called the oxygen of publicity. This guy, Anjem Choudary, he's a joke. He's known in England as being...
If you don't mind, but when people say things like that are offensive, evil, dangerous, we must have the courage to call it by its
Every
name.
time, yeah.
That is evil.
Every time.
That is dangerous.
And he may be a joke,
turn away and pretend it's not happening.
They showed a woman in London walking out of her house in a miniskirt, and she was like in a predominantly Muslim neighborhood, and all the men were screaming at her, "Cover up! This is a Muslim neighborhood. You shouldn't do that." And she says, "This is Great Britain."
Yes.
And then Steve Croft fucked her. No. I don't. But I kind of get why people.
Why do you think people think about you the way they do?
I know. I kind of thank you very much.
But it's the fight within Islam that's most important. It's not amenable to a solution from the West. It's not like they're really deeply concerned about what you and I think.
No, but what we can do is not give a fucking inch.
Right.
That's what we can do.
Right. I am so with the Muslim, because, you know, I keep saying I'm the liberal in this debate because all my life I've been a liberal for the people who are the downtrodden and the oppressed.
Yeah.
Blacks, gays, women, the bullied, whoever it is. And Muslims are oppressed by their own people.
Yeah.
That's a liberal thing, but not if they start going wobbly on this idea of, you know what, no violence unless
We don't
unless you do, unless you insult the prophet.
Well, you know, I have little experience with this. And one of the things that I wanted to say is that I noticed that, you know, what is it, 48 hours since these murders?
Right.
And already the kind of butt brigade is out in force. You know, free speech, but, you know, don't go that far. Free speech, but, you know, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Free speech, but, you know, it's like only they're like goats.
And as well, I would just observe that there have been many acts of horrific violence. Women have been subjugated in these countries for generations.
And still.
I would just observe that maybe part of the reason the media is so outraged suddenly is because it's about them. Where was the outrage?
That's true.
Where is the outrage?
I've been calling for it. Don't look at me.
Well,
I know.
Little experience.
I know.
You know,
We might actually agree on
Yes.
it was today in the news, I saw that ISIS had issued a leaflet telling their followers what the Quran said about how they should treat their sex slaves.
Right. Yeah. Well,
So that's going on.
at least it's in writing.
You know.
But
This is evil,
I wrote
not to
down
mention dangerous.
what you said after the Boston bombing. You said this new idea that writers, scholars, and artists who stand against orthodoxy or bigotry are to blame for upsetting people is dangerous and spreading fast. And here's
I
what
don't know what it is about me coming on your show. There's always a couple of brothers killing people.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, that was the last time.
But here's the Financial Times. They said they're not condoning the murders. They said it's merely to say that some common sense would be useful at publications which purport to strike a blow for freedom when they provoke Muslims, but are actually just being stupid. You know what? To a coward, courage always looks like stupidity.
No, this
what
is
assholes?
This
Who are
is
these
absolutely-
Financial Times?
There have been, you know.
You know what? It is wrong to kill cartoonists. It's galling to be asked to respect that.
Yeah, no. I mean, this is the, you know, there was that piece in the FT that was very, I mean, you know, Glenn Greenwald, so surprisingly.
Or the New York Times,
Or the New
unlike
York
the
Times.
Washington Post,
Refusing
not
to
having the
publish the
courage
cartoons, yeah.
to publish
Right.
the
This is-
cartoon. Where
this
was
is-
the Washington Post was brave,
I mean,
the
this
New
is-
York Times caved.
This is basically sit down, you're rocking the boat. You know, and that's the theme song of the butt brigade. And what they don't seem to understand is that satire, political cartoons, even novels, one of their functions is to rock the damn boat.
Right.
That's what they're for. What would a respectful political cartoon look like?
It says it. Doesn't it say it all how insecure religion is? It's such a house of cards that if anybody says anything or draws even a cartoon, they get worried.
So here's where you and I start to disagree.
Uh-oh.
Because you just went from a specific, a dangerous, evil set of people calling on a dangerous, evil ideology, which absolutely is a subversion of Muslim, but nevertheless, no one's doing this in the name of Christianity. No one's doing this in the name of Judaism. It is not religion.
Well, first of all, people...
It is not religion.
First of all, it is religion. It's just
I
one
disagree.
religion, Islam. Well, first of all, if this was the 16th century...
But it's not. It's the 21st
I know, I
century.
made that point myself.
It's the 21st
I agree.
century.
I agree. But to say that it's not all religions haven't done it, there are crazy Christians, there are crazy Jewish settlers right now.
Yes, but there's crazy.
There is no moral equivalence
Now.
between someone beheading, sawing off the head of an innocent, and anyone who's doing anything on behalf of
Inquisition
Christianity
used to
or
do
Judaism
exactly
today.
that.
But
then
Bill, it was the 1600s.
I'm the one who's making that point.
You cannot compare.
No, you understand. You understand you're on the same side.
Yeah, we're on the same
The
side.
world has
but
moved on.
It has.
From the 16th century,
yes.
except a group of people have not.
The point
But let's
I'm trying
not
to make is that
pretend.
there's inside Islam, there's a group quite a powerful series of groups trying to drag the world back.
Right.
Who believe that some
Absolutely.
kind of perfect society existed in the 7th century at the time of the Prophet, and that history itself is the problem. The forward movement of human race through time, that's the problem.
Yes.
And if we could just abolish that and
Well,
get back to...
And what is ironic, and I have said this publicly on many occasions, what is ironic is the truth is at the time of the great caliphates,
Yeah.
the center of the Muslim world was highly tolerant.
and very cultured. They don't know what a
Highly
caliphate is.
tolerant, very cultured.
Yeah, they have no idea what a caliphate is.